My name's Malin, and if you couldn't tell by my voice, I'm feeling a bit unwell at the moment. Which is very kind of funny because I haven't felt unwell for I haven't been sick in over 3 years, and I was kind of just really kind of up myself about it, oh yeah, I'm not gonna get sick, But when you kind of get unwell, you're responsible for it. There's a reason why you got sick. Of course, someone had to bring that sickness to you, but there was a reason why you got sick, And for me, I was experimenting with alcohol and smoking and those kind of things, and they have an effect on your body, of course. Alcohol reduces your immune system, that kind of things. Smoking isn't good for your lungs, and I kind of thought that I would just kind of breeze past and be fine with it, because I was so healthy, so disciplined, and that kind of thing. And I was also doing too much work. I was just working way too much. Not way too much, but I was working in a job that I don't really like, and that was really draining to me, and that was really stressful for me, and it was kind of me, but I felt that I was kind of by myself and doing all this work and having so much responsibility. I just had all this kind of stress building up, and that's kind of my body was just nah, that's enough, you need to stop this, or else, What are you doing? Anyway, meow. Meow. Anyway, I wanted to kind of start with that because, I'm not really drinking at the moment because, not because I got sick, but as I talked about in my psychedelics video, after I took acid, there's just zero desire for those kind of things, and it's really kind of interesting because these things get you in that state. Anyway, just watch that video if you want to know about that. Anyway, it just basically opened me up and saw what truly matters, and yeah, it was a good but intense experience. Anyway, what I wanted to say is that with social media, everyone is portraying themselves. They want to portray themselves as the best as they can because we all feel like we're being judged. We all feel and we are, everyone's kind of looking to see, oh, that person's doing that, this person's doing this, they look like that, and all of the best people kind of get the most attention. And we want attention because we want to be seen, we want to feel like we belong in our kind of small, insignificant lives. We want to feel like we have a place and have a meaning and purpose, and we can. But chasing the kind of this social media kind of thing, that's why I'm doing this video while I'm sick. I could have waited till I felt better, but I wanted to do this while I'm sick because not many people show all of the sides of themselves, and I want to start to change that to show all sides of myself because I'm not a perfect person. I talk about lots of these big kind of philosophy ideas, and I don't always follow through in the moment, I always do them, but there's something that I'm trying to practice, something that I'm trying to keep up with, and this is me being accountable to you and to myself because I'm sick for a reason, because I was exploring drinking and I wouldn't say I went too far, but I was doing it a lot, and now I'm suffering the consequences of it. And with this kind of social media stuff, I just hate it when everyone is so perfect and trying to show all these good things and show all of these things that they're doing. Because for me, it just makes me feel like I'm so far behind that I need to be doing so much. It makes me feel really intensely jealous about what people are doing and what they're up to, and how many people are just out there having a bunch of sex, having a bunch of sex and doing a ton of drugs and that kind of thing. And it just made me kind of act out of insecurity, I felt insecure with myself, so then I felt like I needed to work out really hard and have a really strict diet. And, it kind of made me think that, it made me realize, if I was actually happy, if I felt secure and worthy in myself, then what would I actually be doing instead? And instead of working out to kind of fit the standards of other people and to feel worthy and feel like I have a place and kind of be noticed, oh, you have to notice me now that I have a good body or whatever. You know, I'd be working out to enjoy the movement, to enjoy seeing the progress in growing muscle and in getting stronger in my lifts and getting more fluid in my movements. And then that may be even going into the soccer, but also like building more resilience that you get from it, because working out has taught me so much about life and myself, and I think that's priceless compared to what we kind of see and what's kind of like pushed about it, which is just like looking big and being really big. And we'll often find that we go into things for these shallow reasons, but the more we go into it, the more we dive into it, these reasons become deeper and deeper, and we can't have a greater appreciation of these things. And, you know, for example, also with music, rather than me wanting to feel like I'm worthy, you know, like, oh, I suffer and I'm a really sensitive person, so I'm going to write a bunch of music and hopefully, you know, people will notice me and then they'll feel bad for me. And then, you know, I'll get a lot of money and recognition from it, and then I'll have all these like adoring kind of fans, and then maybe I'll feel better about myself and worthy of myself because I'll be a top musician and recognized by people around the world. And rather than doing that, you know, now I'm like, oh, well, if I felt happy, if I felt worthy, you know, I'd just be doing music as an expression of myself, to express the things that I'm feeling, the things that I'm going through, and hopefully other people can share and benefit from it and kind of connect to it as well. You know, and that would come more from a place of fun and enjoyment rather than, you know, this place of insecurity and trying to overcome it. Because the more that we kind of feed these insecurities and act from them, you know, I would be telling myself, you know, oh, I'm just like improving myself, I'm just working on myself, so then one day I'll be where I want to be. But the thing is that this is just this loop cycle that never ends, you know, because we're feeding this insecurity, we're acting from this insecurity, we're trying to lift ourselves up by our own bootstraps to get to this place where we think in the future we could be, where we could be there in the present, you know. If we just felt happy and secure with ourselves, then, you know, we wouldn't need all these kind of things. And, you know, the quote, desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. You've got to be very careful with your desires and your goals, because, you know, it is fulfilling to see progress, it is fulfilling to see these things, but if we're doing it out of insecurity, out of this need to like kind of fix ourselves or to change ourselves, then we're just feeding this cycle that's never going to keep us fulfilled, and we're just feeding our insecurities rather than solving them and dealing with them at the root of the problem. So anyway, after that rant, you know, we all kind of have different capacities in things, and with social media, it's so easy. It's so easy to kind of judge ourselves, you know. But like, does it really matter if you're better or worse than somebody else? Like, if you enjoy it, then it should be something that you do, you know. And if you're good at it, then it's even better, you know. And different people have different skill and experiences, and they take different time to kind of build that skill and to, you know, we just have different capacities and we're all unique, and that's what's kind of beautiful about life and about people, is that we all kind of have these unique strengths and weaknesses, and, you know, it's really cool to see what somebody else would do and how they interpret different songs for a reason. Like, so many people can have different connotations for the same song or the same book, and that's kind of cool, you know, because you can be like, oh, for me this song meant that, and then you can tell that to a friend and they're like, oh, that's really interesting, I didn't think of it like that, I actually saw it like this. Anyway, now I wanted to kind of get into like, you know, why we are unhappy, you know, because a lot of people are, and I see a lot of people aren't happy, and I'm lucky enough to experience being happy and to be in that state where you're doing what you're supposed to, you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're seeing progress in it, and it just feels amazing. There's no better feeling than it, you know. And I've been in a lot of different kind of states, you know. I've taken psychedelics, I've done alcohol, you know, being really drunk, and those things can be nice, but the sense of satisfaction and feeling in yourself it's on a whole different level. And I have this theory called the battery capacity theory, because I'm such a genius, and I'm just so smart, I'm just a great new age philosopher. I have this new theory, and it's going to change your life, it's going to change it. It's not, but it's just a good idea for you to kind of have. It's a good idea for you to have. So listen to me. Or not. You know, the battery capacity theory states that we have a certain amount of energy each day, you know, for emotional, physical, and kind of brain power activities, you know. And the things that we do each day kind of drain that. Different activities will drain it more or less depending on, you know, what that activity is. For example, you know, if you go on a walk, that's not going to drain as much as if you were to play a game of soccer, for example. And then there's the kind of variations, you know. If someone was a basketballer and they played soccer, you know, they would get a lot bigger of a drain, you know, from trying to think of the mental movements and trying to get the physical patterns down because they're not used to those kind of movements. So they would be drained someone. That would drain the basketballer more than it would the soccer player. And then there's the skill, you know, in it. The more skill and the more practiced you are in it, the easier it is for you to do. So the more you do something, the easier it becomes. I think we kind of know that. And then the capacity for our battery can shrink or it can grow depending on certain things. And of course this has a limit, there's like an upper limit, like you can't just keep growing your battery till you have like this big fat battery, like, oh, check out my battery, babe. Or your battery could be really small. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that this battery, depending on what you do, you know, if you drink a lot of alcohol, if you have bad sleep, if you're not taking care of yourself, if you're doing too much work, then you're going to be draining your battery. You know, if you're doing more than your battery has the capacity to do, then you're taking it from future stores. And if you do things like alcohol, or you take bad sleep, or you do drugs and that kind of thing, it's taking from a future store and making the battery for your future self even smaller, which is making life harder for yourself in the future. Whereas if you're doing things that kind of expand it, like getting good sleep, eating good food, that kind of thing, which is what I'll talk about in a minute, then it's going to grow, it's going to get better, and your life is going to feel better, and you're going to feel more charged and energetic. And of course, this is kind of just like an idea for you to kind of brew on and think about. And, you know, there's a certain amount that's kind of ideal for each of us, and we've got to kind of find out our unique strengths and weaknesses and find out what works for us and that kind of thing. So before I kind of go into these kind of things, these different kind of levels or these kind of tips that I give you, I just want to make a point that, you know, I'm going to be talking about sleep, and if you're like, oh, well, I don't want to miss going out to all these parties because, you know, I really enjoy drinking with my friends or whatever. I'm not going to say that that's a bad thing or that you shouldn't be doing that, because it's up to you, you know. It's just, are you aware that you're paying a price for that? You know, your sleep and your health is paying a price for that, and your body will one day have the after effects from it. You know, it's going to suffer from it in the future, depending on how much you do it, of course. In moderation, it could be okay, and you could kind of balance it out. But I just want to say that I'm not trying to judge these things, because awareness is key and judgment is dangerous. You know, as soon as you say something's good or bad, then, you know, you're kind of getting into like these set boxes, and I don't want to get into these kind of set boxes and say that it's good or bad, because it's all up to you, you know, and it's up to you how you decide to live your life, and, you know, if you're willing or to pay the price for it, you know, is it worth it to you? And it may be. So I'm going to start with sleep, because I think that's the foundation, you know. And I haven't been getting great, well, the past week I've been getting better sleep, but I've had really bad sleep. You know, I've done not almost all nighters, but I've done really late nights, you know, like 3, 4 a.m. in the morning, you know, and although it can be fun, depending on what you're doing, whether you're out drinking or playing video games or whatever, it can kind of be fun, but then you kind of pay for it, and it kind of sucks, you know. And sleep is such a big foundation, because the better sleep you have, the better that kind of sets how much your battery could be filled, you know. It doesn't matter how good you eat, how good you exercise, all these kind of things. If you have shit sleep, then you're going to feel pretty shit, because sleep is just the foundation of rest and recovery. And I also want to note that the more regular your sleep is, the better it is. And I also want to note, because some people don't actually realize this, there's a lot of kind of sleep tips out there, but this is just the couple that I want to give. And if you actually want like a kind of wind down routine and how to sleep better, then go see like someone like Andrew Huberman, because I'm not an expert on this. I just have a few kind of tips and tricks that have worked for me. And I'm just kind of seeing this in a holistic view rather than just sleep. So as I was saying, some people think that, you know, oh, if I go to bed at 10 and then I wake up at 6, you know, for example, then I'll be getting 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll be getting 8 hours of sleep. And from using a Whoop, I found that, you know, sometimes it takes a while for you to go to sleep, and you actually have periods in the night where you actually are waking up. And that kind of adds up. So just because you're in bed for 8 hours doesn't mean that you get 8 hours of sleep, you know. You've got to kind of adjust for that, and the more sleep that you have, the kind of longer you kind of need to kind of catch up. But as I said before, you know, the more regular your sleep is, the more consistent you're going to bed, the better your sleep's going to be, because your body's going to get more used to it. And of course there's like seeing light in the morning and having a wind down routine, etc. Excuse me. Wow, so rude. I just hope that my kind of like my nasally voice isn't annoying you guys too much. Next I want to talk about food. You know, the best diet is very simple. It's just organic fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, some legumes, you know, like beans and that kind of stuff. And then wild meat. And I've tried being a vegetarian, I've tried being vegan, and I found that I was not able to get enough protein. And to get enough protein in, I either had to have a lot of protein powder, which is actually very processed, and it isn't great for you to have a whole lot of it, or I had to eat so many like lentils that I just kind of got really like puffy because the amount of carbs that's in lentils as well, so I just got really puffy because I just had so much water retention. Yeah. So basically, if you don't want to be puffy but you want to be big, then you go for wild meats, and you want to be healthy. If you don't, then just have like supermarket foods or whatever. But you'll actually find that I'm able to get wild meats, like wild venison mince, for like $9 for a 500 grams, which is like better than getting the organic beef from Woolworths, which is like probably fed with like shit hormones and whatever. But that's like another story. And again, like I said, I just want to keep reiterating this. You know, if you want to enjoy food, if you want to have like, I don't know, like chocolate peanuts. Chocolate peanuts is like my thing. You know, if you have chocolate peanuts at the end of the day, then all good. Just be aware that you're kind of paying the price for it. You know, and you just got to be aware and listen to like your body and kind of be like, oh, maybe that's too much, or this is the right amount, whatever. And you know, these days, financial situation is very hard. You know, like we have to work so much more to earn enough money to be able to pay rent, to be able to pay enough groceries and all these kind of things, and then to eat healthy, and then to have the time to sleep and all that kind of thing. And then we need a social life on top of that. But I think it's very important to be very conscious with our time and realize that if we're working too much, that's going to have a detrimental impact on us. You know, like with me getting sick, you know, I was just doing too much stressful things, wasn't taking proper care of my health. Then it made me want to drink more, then it made me want to smoke more, and then it made my health worse, and then I got sick as a result from it. And I wasn't spending time on the things that I actually enjoyed, and I was feeling worse and worse, you know? And that's like a really sad kind of place to be in. So I think it's like crucial that you just spend a little bit of time, no matter how much it is, just like on a project that you enjoy, you know, whether that's like playing a little bit of music like me, or just going out and kicking the ball, or going for a walk with a friend, whatever, you know, or even that could be just going out for a drink with your friend, you know, and having like a really good conversation, because some good conversations can come out of like drinking with a friend. And you know, we have a lot of kind of social struggles in our in our current age because of social media. As I said before, you know, it's all kind of like we feel like we're being judged, so we have to kind of act perfect and kind of be cool, and you know, I feel like we have to be these perfect people. And sometimes, you know, we're not acting the way we want to because we're not in the right environment. We're not in the environment that is conducive to us being ourselves, you know, and we feel like we have to act. And the more we're trying to act and fit in, the less kind of connected we feel to people. And, you know, it's hard to kind of start these deeper conversations with people, but that's part of why I'm trying to do this YouTube channel, so that I practice talking about these ideas, expressing these ideas, getting them to other people. So, you know, like if potentially I were to see one of my subscribers, then it just immediately ignites this kind of conversation, and maybe that it can ignite other conversations with other people as well. And I just want to note that it all kind of starts with you to be the catalyst for this. And I know that it's like really hard and can be really scary and feel like judgmental, just call out people and to like say the truth and like say things as they are, rather than like just be like, oh, how are you, how's life going on? It's like, oh yeah, I'm just like working, and you know, yeah, how things, oh yeah, just going down for a walk, yeah, whatever. You know, like that little talk can be good, but if we really want like connection, if we really want to feel like we belong, if we really want to change people's lives and like have better connections with people, have a better social life, then we need to be like having these better, deeper conversations, you know, and asking these questions. And some people may not be ready or willing to do it, and that's okay, you know. Maybe they're not ready, maybe they don't want to, whatever. I just feel like I'm babbling on a little bit. And then there's kind of like romantic struggles, and you know, it kind of sucks because I see so many people like my age, like especially around where I live and where I've been, you know, just most of the people my age just seem to be out like drinking all the time and having these really kind of shallow conversations, and just having like these kind of shallow experiences, and just being like, oh yeah, I'm so cool drinking with the boys, and that kind of thing. And that just kind of like, I don't know, I just don't like it. I just really kind of hate it, you know. But I've been lucky enough that I do have a few friends that I can like talk to about like almost anything basically, and that I feel very comfortable with, and I hope that other people can kind of find that. But as I was talking about with the romantic kind of struggles, you know, it can be hard to find and connect with people of the opposite gender because we can't fully understand each other, because we don't know how each other kind of works. Like, I can have a kind of understanding of how period cycles work, but I haven't experienced it. And if I haven't experienced it, then I don't fully actually know what it is like to be a woman, you know, and I probably won't ever have that experience. And, you know, there's something that I'm still working on, still trying to figure out, but so I'll just kind of leave it there. I'll just kind of leave that there, that one. And hopefully one day I can give more advice on it. I know I will. Anyway. So, I think that pretty much wraps up this video. That's all that I kind of wanted to say, and I hope you enjoyed it. And like I said, if you're kind of struggling to change, then, you know, eventually it takes time. It takes a lot of time to change. And for me, I've found that psychedelics have helped. You know, taking magic mushrooms really helped. I wouldn't really advise acid because that's fucking intense and that's insane. But if you do want to change and open up your mind, then I recommend just looking at my psychedelic video and then also kind of doing a little bit of research on it. Maybe asking some friends if you have some that have done it, because it's a really life-changing experience, and I think it's something that can be very positive and helpful to a lot of people. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. And I'll see you in the next one.